Did you know Elvis Presley once flew on his private jet, the Lisa Marie, from Memphis to Denver and back in the middle of the night just to eat a sandwich? Or that this legendary sandwich contained a whole loaf of bread, a full jar of peanut butter, a full jar of jelly, and a pound of bacon. It said, he sometimes ate pounds of bacon in a single day, often cooked until it was practically burnt. And forget fancy restaurants. His cravings often centered on simple Southern comfort food, available 24/7 from his personal kitchen staff at Graceland. Get ready, because the king's appetite was truly fit for royalty, in quantity, if not always in kind. Number 8. Soda City. Gallons of fizzy pop. You might think water, or maybe something stronger, would be the drink of choice for a rock and roll superstar constantly performing under hot lights, but for Elvis Presley, one of his most consistent and voluminous cravings was for good old-fashioned soda pop. Forget a can here or there. We're talking serious quantities enough to keep entire beverage companies happy. Elvis reportedly had a massive thirst for sweet, fizzy drinks, and it wasn't just an occasional treat. It was a constant companion. His preferred brands were often cited as Pepsi-Cola and the Southern favorite, RC Cola, Royal Crown Cola. But it wasn't just about brand loyalty. It was about availability. At Graceland, his Memphis mansion, coolers stocked full of soda were always within reach, day or night. Imagine having a craving at 3 a.m. and knowing without a doubt that an ice-cold bottle of your favorite pop was just steps away, waiting for you. That was Elvis's reality. His kitchen staff were under instructions to keep the supply plentiful and perpetually chilled. Cases upon cases of soda were delivered regularly to the estate to keep up with the demand, primarily from the king himself. Think about the sheer amount of sugar and caffeine intake this represented. While performing, rehearsing, or just relaxing at home, a cold soda was often in Elvis's hand or nearby. It was part of the landscape of his daily life. Some reports suggest he could easily polish off multiple large bottles or numerous cans throughout the day and night. This wasn't just a casual sipping habit. It was a dedicated consumption pattern. The fizz, the sweetness, the caffeine kick, whatever the appeal, soda was a non-negotiable part of his diet. Consider the context of his other favorite foods. Rich, heavy, often fried, Southern dishes. A cold, sharp, sugary soda might have felt like the perfect counterpoint, cutting through the richness or simply providing a familiar, comforting sweetness that he enjoyed since his childhood in Tupelo, Mississippi. Sweet tea is a staple in the South, but for Elvis, carbonated beverages seemed to hold a special, constant appeal. He reportedly liked his drinks very cold, sometimes served over crushed ice. The clinking sound of ice in a glass filled with dark cola could well have been a regular background noise at Graceland. This constant supply wasn't just limited to Graceland. When Elvis traveled, arrangements were made to ensure his preferred sodas were available on his private jet, in hotel suites, and backstaged at venues. It was a creature comfort that followed him everywhere. While other stars might have demanded specific spirits or imported waters, Elvis's consistent request was often for these relatively simple, widely available, though consumed in extraordinary amounts, sodas. It speaks to his roots and his preference for familiar tastes, even amidst global fame and fortune. The king's thirst was as legendary as his voice, and his fizzy drink habit was a cornerstone of his daily consumption. Gallons of pop flowed freely wherever Elvis went, a constant stream fueling the energy, the late nights, and the legend. Number 7. Pounds of pound cake. Simple, rich, buttery, dense pound cake. It doesn't sound like the most extravagant dessert for a man who could afford anything, but for Elvis, this humble cake held a special place in his heart, and frequently on his plate. Forget delicate French pastries or elaborate tiered creations. The king often craved the straightforward comfort of a classic pound cake, a staple of Southern baking. The name pound cake traditionally comes from its recipe: a pound of butter, a pound of sugar, a pound of eggs, and a pound of flour. While recipes evolved, the essence remained: a moist, dense, fine-crumbed cake with a rich, buttery flavor. It's the kind of cake that doesn't necessarily need frosting, though a simple glaze or a dusting of powdered sugar wouldn't be out of place. For Elvis, it seemed the cake itself was the main attraction. Sources close to Elvis, including his cooks and members of the Memphis Mafia, often mentioned his fondness for pound cake. It wasn't just an occasional slice like many of his food preferences. When Elvis wanted pound cake, he might indulge significantly. There are accounts of him enjoying it frequently, sometimes having it available alongside other desserts, or even as a snack. It represented a taste of home, perhaps reminding him of his mother Gladys, who was known for her cooking and baking during his childhood. Southern home baking often features prominently in family traditions, and pound cake is a perennial favorite at gatherings, church socials, and Sunday dinners. Imagine a freshly baked pound cake, maybe still slightly warm, filling the kitchen at Graceland with its sweet, buttery aroma. Elvis might have enjoyed a thick slice, or several, with a glass of cold milk, or, more likely, one of his beloved sodas. Did he have a specific way he liked it? Perhaps a particular recipe passed down, or one perfected by his Graceland cooks. While specifics are scarce, the fact of his enjoyment is well documented. It was a simple pleasure, a reliable source of comforting sweetness in his often chaotic world. Unlike some of his more elaborate cravings, pound cake was relatively straightforward. It didn't require exotic ingredients or complex preparation. Yet, its richness and satisfying density clearly appealed to his palate. It fit right in with the other hearty, comforting foods he loved. Think about it, alongside a meal of fried chicken or meatloaf, a slice of pound cake would be a perfectly coherent, if indulgent, ending from a Southern comfort food perspective. The sheer quantity is again a recurring theme in Elvis's eating habits. A single slice might satisfy most people, but the king's appetite was famously large. It's easy to picture him making significant inroads into a whole cake over a day or two. Was it always homemade at Graceland? Or did he sometimes indulge in store-bought versions? Given his resources and dedicated staff, freshly baked seems more likely, ensuring it was made exactly to his liking. This preference for a simple traditional cake speaks volumes about his connection to his roots and his enduring love for the familiar flavors of his Southern upbringing, a sweet counterpoint to the electrifying energy of his public persona. It wasn't just cake. It was a taste of comfort served up by the pound. Number 6. Burger Bonanza. He liked them. Stacked the hamburger. An undisputed icon of American cuisine. And you bet, the king of rock and roll had a thing for them. Elvis Presley loved burgers, specifically cheeseburgers, and they were a regular feature in his diet, whether he was at home in Memphis, on the road touring, or even filming in Hollywood. It was a straightforward, satisfying food that he returned to again and again. But Elvis didn't just like any burger. He had his preferences. Often, he wanted them cooked well done. No fancy medium rare for the king. He liked his patties cooked through, sometimes even slightly charred on the outside. And cheese was usually a must. Good old American cheese melted generously over the patty. Standard tum-ums like pickles, onions, and mustard were often part of the picture. Nothing too gourmet. Just classic burger components done right. Graceland's kitchen was, of course, equipped to whip up burgers whenever the craving struck, which could be any time of the day or night. Imagine the sizzle of patties hitting the griddle at 2 a.m. because Elvis suddenly decided he needed a burger fix. His staff knew the drill. Well done, patty. Melted cheese, soft bun, maybe some specific condiments. Sometimes he might eat one. Other times he might order several. His capacity for food was legendary, and burgers were no exception. There are stories of him ordering stacks of burgers either for himself or to share with his entourage, the Memphis Mafia. Burgers were also a convenient food when traveling. While he had access to fine dining, Elvis often preferred the familiar comfort of a simple burger. He might send someone out to a local diner or burger joint known for good old-fashioned burgers, or have them prepared by hotel room service according to his specifications. It was a taste of normalcy, perhaps, a connection to the kinds of places he might have eaten before fame changed his life forever. Think about the construction. A soft white bun, often toasted, cradling that well-done beef patty covered in gooey melted cheese. The tangy bite of pickles, the sharp crunch of raw onion, a slather of yellow mustard, maybe ketchup, maybe not depending on his mood or specific instruction. It's a flavor profile that's deeply ingrained in American culture, and Elvis embraced it wholeheartedly. He wasn't looking for avocado aioli or truffle-infused patties. He wanted the real deal, the classic experience. His love for burgers sometimes led to specific, legendary requests. While not as famous as the Fool's Gold Loaf trip, there were undoubtedly times when significant effort was made to procure burgers exactly the way he wanted them, from a particular place or cooked just so. He knew what he liked, and he had the means to get it. Whether it was a late-night snack after a show, a casual lunch at Graceland, or a meal on the set of a movie, burgers were a reliable go-to. They were filling, flavorful, and uncomplicated. Qualities that seemed to appeal to Elvis amidst the complexities of his superstardom. It wasn't just a sandwich. It was a handheld piece of Americana that the king consumed with gusto, often ordering them by the batch. Number 5. Southern Comfort Central Biscuits and Gravy. If you want to understand Elvis's food preferences, you have to understand Southern cooking. And few dishes scream Southern comfort quite like biscuits and gravy. Fluffy, buttery biscuits smothered in thick, creamy, savory gravy. It's a breakfast staple below the Mason-Dixon line, and Elvis was a devoted fan. This wasn't a light morning meal. It was a hearty, rib-sticking dish designed to fuel a hard day's work. Or in Elvis's case, perhaps a long night's relaxation or recording session. Let's break it down. The biscuits themselves are key. Southern biscuits are typically tall, flaky, and tender, often made with buttermilk and lard or shortening for maximum richness and a delicate crumb. They're perfect for soaking up gravy and the gravy. While variations exist, the classic Southern gravy served with biscuits is often a white, milk-based gravy flavored heavily with sausage or bacon drippings. Crumbled breakfast sausage is frequently mixed right into the gravy, adding meaty flavor and texture. Salt and generous amounts of black pepper are essential seasonings. Elvis reportedly loved this combination. It was a taste of his childhood, a dish deeply rooted in the culinary traditions of Mississippi and Tennessee. Graceland's kitchen would have been well versed in preparing biscuits and gravy exactly to his liking. Were his biscuits extra buttery? Did he prefer sausage gravy, or perhaps a simpler bacon grease gravy? Accounts suggest he favored the rich, sausage-laden version. Imagine a plate piled high, split biscuits completely covered, practically swimming in a thick, peppery, sausage-studded gravy. It's a visually impressive and aromatically enticing dish. This wasn't necessarily just a breakfast food for Elvis. Given his nocturnal habits, breakfast could happen at any hour. A craving for biscuits and gravy might strike in the afternoon or late at night, and the Graceland staff would oblige. It was pure comfort, food, warm filling, and intensely savory. The combination of the soft biscuit and the creamy, meaty gravy is incredibly satisfying, a textural and flavorful delight that hits all the right notes for someone seeking solace in food. Consider the ingredients and preparation. Making good Southern biscuits is an art form, requiring a light touch to avoid developing the gluten and making them tough. The gravy involves rendering sausage or bacon, making a roux with the fat and flour, and then whisking in milk until thick and smooth, seasoning generously throughout. It's simple farmhouse cooking elevated to an art form, and Elvis appreciated the results. He likely enjoyed his biscuits and gravy alongside other breakfast favorites, like scrambled eggs or bacon, perhaps even more bacon. It formed part of a larger pattern of enjoying rich, high-calorie, traditional Southern fare. This dish, perhaps more than some others, directly connects Elvis to his cultural roots. It's not fancy or sophisticated in the traditional sense, but it's deeply flavorful and satisfying in a way that resonates with Southern identity. For the king, born in a humble two-room house in Tupelo, a plate of biscuits and gravy was probably more than just food. It was a connection to home, a taste of his past that remained a favorite even when he was one of the most famous people on the planet. It was pure, unadulterated Southern comfort on a plate. Number 4. Fried chicken, fit for a king. Could a list of Elvis's favorite foods ever be complete without mentioning fried chicken? Absolutely not. This quintessential Southern dish was a staple in his diet, a food he reportedly adored and consumed with great enthusiasm. Crispy skin, juicy meat, seasoned just right, classic fried chicken was high on the king's list of cravings. Just like biscuits and gravy, fried chicken is deeply embedded in Southern culinary tradition. Every family, every cook, often has their own special recipe or technique. Whether it was pan-fried in a cast-iron skillet, the truly traditional method, or deep-fried for extra crispiness, Elvis loved it. Accounts from his cooks and friends confirm that fried chicken made frequent appearances on the menu at Graceland and was often requested when he was traveling. What made Elvis's preferred fried chicken special? Details suggest he liked it crispy. possibly cooked in vegetable shortening or lard for that authentic southern flavor and texture. The seasoning would have been crucial likely, a simple but effective blend of salt, pepper, and maybe paprika or garlic powder in the flour dredge. He wasn't necessarily looking for spicy Nashville hot chicken or complex marinades. He craved the classic, comforting taste of well-made, traditional fried chicken. Imagine platters piled high with golden brown chicken pieces, drumsticks, thighs, breasts, wings, emerging hot and fragrant from the Graceland kitchen. This wasn't a dish served in small portions. Elvis and his entourage could reportedly demolish large quantities of fried chicken in a single sitting. It was perfect party food, ideal for informal gatherings at home, late-night hangs, or satisfying a powerful craving after a performance. Which pieces did he prefer? While not always specified, the dark meat, thighs and drumsticks, is often prized in Southern cooking for its flavor and moisture. But it's likely Elvis enjoyed all parts of the bird. The satisfying crunch of the skin giving way to tender, flavorful meat inside is a universally appealing experience, and the king was no exception to its charms. He might eat it with his hands, discarding formalities, especially in the comfort of his own home. Fried chicken fits perfectly within the Elvis food landscape. It pairs naturally with other favorites like mashed potatoes, gravy, biscuits, and collard greens, though his vegetable intake is less frequently discussed than his love for richer fare. It's hearty, satisfying, and undeniably Southern. Like pound cake and biscuits, it connected him to the tastes of his upbringing. Even as his fame grew, his palate often remained grounded in the simple, powerful flavors of the food he grew up with. The logistics of providing fried chicken on demand meant the Graceland kitchen needed to be ready. Keeping ingredients on hand, mastering the specific recipe he preferred, and being able to produce it whenever the king desired was part of the job. It speaks to the level of service Elvis commanded, but also to the relative simplicity of his core cravings. He wasn't demanding obscure delicacies. He wanted expertly prepared versions of beloved home-style dishes. Fried chicken, with its crispy, savory allure, was a frequent command performance in the king's culinary kingdom, a dish he never seemed to tire of. Number 3. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and good. Meatloaf might seem like a mundane everyday dish to some, but for Elvis Presley, it was a source of genuine comfort and satisfaction. This classic American diner and home cooking staple was reportedly one of his absolute favorite meals, something he requested often and ate with relish. Forget its sometimes humble reputation. For Elvis, meatloaf was king. What exactly is meatloaf? Typically, it's a mixture of ground meat, often beef, sometimes pork or veal added, combined with binders like breadcrumbs or cracker crumbs, eggs, chopped onions, celery, and various seasonings. Ketchup or a tomato-based glaze is often spread on top before baking. It's baked in a loaf pan, or free form until cooked through, then sliced and served, often with gravy. Elvis's preference seemed to lean towards a traditional, straightforward meatloaf. No fancy additions like sun-dried tomatoes or exotic spices. He liked the familiar, savory flavors of a well-seasoned meat blend, perhaps with that tangy ketchup glaze providing a sweet counterpoint. It was the kind of meal his mother might have made, evoking feelings of home and security. His cooks at Graceland would have had a go-to recipe, perfected to meet the king's specific tastes. Was it extra moist? Did it have a particular blend of meats? Did he like a specific type of glaze? While intricate details are lost to time, the core fact remains. He loved meatloaf. Crucially, meatloaf is often served with mashed potatoes and gravy. Two other items Elvis enjoyed. Though mashed potatoes aren't a separate entry here, they were a frequent companion to his main dishes. Imagine a plate. Thick slices of tender, flavorful meatloaf, perhaps slightly browned from the oven, alongside a generous helping of creamy mashed potatoes, all smothered in rich brown gravy. It's a trifecta of comfort food, a deeply satisfying and filling meal. This combination was likely a regular sight on Elvis's dinner table, or TV tray. Meatloaf was a recurring request, a reliable favorite that his staff knew would please him. It wasn't showy, but it was dependable and delicious in its simplicity. Like burgers or fried chicken, it represented a connection to ordinary American life, a contrast to the extraordinary circumstances of his fame. Eating meatloaf could have been a grounding experience, a taste of normalcy. Think about the preparation involved. Chopping the vegetables, mixing the meats and binders by hand, carefully shaping the loaf, preparing the glaze, baking it until the aroma fills the kitchen. It's a labor of love, and the result is pure comfort. Elvis clearly appreciated this effort and the familiar flavors it produced. He might eat several large slices in one go, testament to both his love for the dish and his famously large appetite. It's easy to picture Elvis relaxing at Graceland, perhaps watching TV or chatting with friends while enjoying a hearty plate of meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and gravy. It wasn't about culinary innovation. It was about satisfying a craving for something familiar, savory, and deeply comforting. Meatloaf held a special, unpretentious place in the king's culinary repertoire, a simple dish elevated to royal favorite status through sheer enjoyment and frequent consumption. Number 2. The absolutely INS Fool's Gold Loaf. This isn't just a sandwich, it's a legend. The Fool's Gold Loaf is perhaps the most extreme example of Elvis Presley's food cravings and his ability to satisfy them, no matter the cost or effort. It's a monument to culinary excess, a dish so over the top it borders on the unbelievable, yet the stories surrounding it are well documented. So what exactly is this mythical creation? Prepare yourself. The Fool's Gold Loaf originated at the Colorado Mine Company restaurant in Denver. It starts with an entire loaf, a large oblong loaf of sourdough or French bread. The loaf is sliced lengthwise, hollowed out, and its interior is slathered generously with margarine or butter. Then comes the filling, and this is where things get truly wild. An entire jar, yes, a whole jar of creamy peanut butter is spread inside one half of the hollowed-out loaf on the other half. An entire jar, yes, another whole jar of grape jelly. And the piece de resistance, a full pound of bacon fried until crispy, is piled inside before the loaf is closed back up. The whole creation is then warmed in the oven until heated through. The result is a massive, unwieldy, incredibly rich sandwich, estimated to contain somewhere between 8,000 and a staggering 42,000 calories. Estimates vary wildly, but even the low end is enormous. It's sweet, savory, salty, creamy, crunchy, and utterly decadent. The most famous story associated with the Fool's Gold Loaf involves Elvis, his private jet, the Lisa Marie, and a serious late-night craving. As the tale goes, sometime in 1976, Elvis was at Graceland when he started talking about the amazing sandwich he'd once had in Denver. His craving grew so intense that he decided he needed one right then. So he spontaneously flew himself and a few friends from Memphis to Denver, a journey of about 2 hours each way in the middle of the night. They didn't even leave the Denver airport hangar. The owners of the Colorado Mine Company personally prepared a batch of fool's gold loaves. Reports say anywhere from a few to over 20 were made, and delivered them, along with Perrier water and champagne, directly to Elvis and his party on the tarmac. They ate the sandwiches right there in the hangar, washed them down with the drinks, spent a couple of hours enjoying their impromptu feast, and then flew back to Memphis, all for a sandwich. This story perfectly encapsulates the scale of Elvis's appetites and the resources at his disposal. It wasn't just about liking a particular food, it was about the ability to act on a whim, no matter how extravagant, to satisfy that desire. The fool's gold loaf itself is a testament to a more is more philosophy, taking familiar ingredients like peanut butter, jelly, and bacon, all things Elvis loved individually, and combining them in epic proportions within a giant loaf of bread. Imagine trying to eat such a thing. It would likely require slicing like a cake. The sheer combination of flavors and textures, the warm, soft bread, the creamy peanut butter, the sweet jelly, the salty, crispy bacon, must have been overwhelming, yet clearly deeply appealing to Elvis. It combines several of his known favorites into one gargantuan package. While it wasn't an everyday food, even for Elvis, the fool's gold loaf stands as a symbol of his legendary indulgence and his willingness to go to extraordinary lengths for the foods he craved. It's more than a sandwich. It's a piece of rock and roll folklore, served hot and dripping with peanut butter, jelly, and bacon grease. Number 1. The King's signature sandwich, peanut butter, banana, and bacon. If there's one food item eternally linked with Elvis Presley, it's this one. The peanut butter, banana, and bacon sandwich, often simply called the Elvis, is the stuff of legend. While the fool's gold loaf represents his most extravagant craving, this sandwich represents his most iconic and frequently consumed comfort food. It's a combination that sounds strange to some, but for Elvis, it was pure culinary bliss. Let's dissect the classic preparation. It starts with 2 slices of plain white bread. Creamy peanut butter is spread generously on both slices. Sliced or mashed ripe banana is layered over the peanut butter on one slice. Then comes the crucial savory element: crispy fried bacon. Several strips, often cooked until very well done or even slightly burnt, as Elvis reportedly preferred, are placed on top of the banana. The second slice of bread goes on top, and the entire sandwich is then pan-fried in butter, lots of butter, or sometimes even bacon fat, until both sides are golden brown and crispy, and the inside is warm and gooey. The result is a symphony of contrasting flavors and textures. You get the salty, savory crunch of the bacon, the sweet, soft mushiness of the banana, the creamy, nutty richness of the peanut butter, and the buttery crispness of the fried bread. It hits multiple pleasure points on the palate simultaneously: sweet, salty, fatty, and savory. It's warm, comforting, and incredibly indulgent. Why this specific combination? Peanut butter and banana sandwiches were not entirely uncommon in the South. sometimes seen as a simple, inexpensive lunch or snack. Adding bacon and, crucially, pan-frying the whole thing in butter elevated it to something much richer and more decadent. Stories suggest that Elvis's mother, Gladys, may have made him similar sandwiches when he was young, cementing it as a comfort food early in his life. This wasn't an occasional treat, it was a staple. Cooks at Graceland reported making these sandwiches for Elvis at all hours of the day and night. He might eat one, or he might eat several in a row. It was a go-to snack, a quick meal, or something to satisfy a late-night craving. His love for this sandwich was so well known that it became synonymous with his name. Variations existed, sometimes without bacon, sometimes maybe with honey, instead of or alongside the banana, but the peanut butter and banana core remained, often fried to perfection. Imagine the scene: the sizzle of butter in a hot skillet, the smell of bacon mingling with peanut butter and banana, the king waiting expectantly for his favorite sandwich. It was a simple pleasure, yet one he returned to countless times throughout his life, from his early days to the height of his fame. The sandwich required readily available ingredients and wasn't complex to make, making it easily accessible whenever the craving struck, assuming you had a cook on hand 24/7. The sheer caloric load and richness of the sandwich are undeniable. Frying it in butter adds significant fat and calories, on top of the already calorie-dense peanut butter and bacon. But for Elvis, who famously battled weight gain later in his life, yet never lost his love for rich foods, this sandwich clearly provided immense satisfaction that outweighed other considerations. Today, the Elvis sandwich appears on menus in diners and cafes across the world, a culinary tribute to the king of rock and roll. It endures as his most famous food association, a quirky, decadent, and utterly unforgettable combination that perfectly captures the unique blend of down-home comfort and larger-than-life indulgence that characterized Elvis Presley himself. It wasn't just a sandwich, it was his sandwich.